Good afternoon, Professor Dr. Anil Kakodkar, Mr. Ram Dharai, Ranjit, I see Sane, Kirit Parekh, and my friends. I think Dr. Anil Kakodkar has thought about energy maybe 10 times more than I have thought of. He has given a perspective. And I'm going to fill the details with respect to the nuclear energy. If you look at the world, there are 450 reactors working in the world. The life of the reactors varies from 0 to 47 years. Some are new, some have been there for 47 years. Many of the reactors fall in the range of 25 to 42 years, but they can work safely with retrofittings up to 60 years and more. Number of reactors being built as on 27th November 2016 was 60. India itself has declared 10 more PHWRs of 700. Operating efficiency of these reactors has been good. India has 22 reactors and would double almost with 20 reactors in construction. The megawatts would be much more because our earlier reactors were small. They were 220 megawatt. Now what we are putting is 700,000 and things like that. So I'm going to not go through the details. For each slide, I would have a line or two to say that in the first stage, it was pressurized heavy water reactor. India has grown in competence and capacity. We produce lowest kWh PHWRs with the closed fuel cycle. And this augurs well for expanding this capacity without uncertainty. Fast reactors, we have traveled through the journey of uncertainty, embargoes. Today, including in US Congress, and in the IAEA, we are either amongst the leader or a leader, which is very important to transit to thorium because you must convert thorium to uranium-233, though there are other routes, but fast breeder reactors offer the best route. And also, the fast breeder reactors produce huge amount of energy also in the process. If you look at the figures from while uranium-fueled PHWRs give 300 gigawatt electrical year, fast reactors give you 1800,000. That's a factor of 60. So while converting thorium to uranium-233, it also pulls, and of course from sustainability point of view, finally you transit to thorium. I must say it was genius of Homi Bhabha who thought of it. Today, you feel pride in any part of the world to say that we thought of sustainability in nuclear much better than anybody. And for 60 years, we have not changed. We have only filled the details. We are talking about circular economy. To me, the best circular cycle is nuclear because we take uranium from the earth, convert it into the fuel, put it into the water reactors, and then separate plutonium from it, put it in the fast reactors, and then we again produce more plutonium and uranium-233, which is fed back. And whole cycle is done so that at the end we get high-level waste management, and we also get some wonderful elements in the periodic table which are important for catalysts, which are important for nuclear radiations and all that, and it multiplies the uranium resources 60 times, which I showed you in the first slide, that if you use uranium in the water reactors, you are there for 300 gigawatt electricity, otherwise you are for that. This is the maturity cycle. We struggled from 1970s on to 2017, but today we have gone through 220, 500, 700 megawatt reactors, and now putting 10 reactors of 700 megawatts would be all right. So below, I have, in the context of this particular meeting, scalability. We must scale very fast. We can't say that we have competence. Time schedule. If the cost of nuclear doesn't come down heavily, then it would not be there. And then also the waste management, which India is again one of the leaders, we must accelerate. Most important would be the land. Where do we put so many reactors? We must earmark and then be working on those areas to be able to realize that. And public acceptance in our field is very important, so we should not take it for granted. Public acceptance, we have seen Japan, which was creating 25% of electricity going to 50%, how one accident took the whole public acceptance out, and they are struggling again. So public acceptance, we have to do it increase. So from the competence in the water reactors to a complete program for the next 30 years on fast reactors, where with innovations, we'd increase the capacity very significantly and then go to the thorium. But I think as a policy issue, as an intervention, what we need is scale up of both water reactors, scale up of fast reactors, fast forwarding to thorium at the early stage, and demonstrating that we can achieve that. Fast reactor, 500 megawatt, which was done ab initio. I call it from mathematics to materializing of the project. This is the only project in the nuclear energy which we did ab initio. Another is nuclear security area, which we did ab initio, and plutonium, but this is one big project which we did ab initio. And this slide is for details, but it shows very clearly that plutonium is good in the fast spectrum, thorium is good in the intermediate spectrum, and India has plans from first stage, second stage to third stage to use every gram of uranium, every gram of plutonium, convert thorium to uranium-233 and realize it. Our own design, again ab initio, advanced heavy water reactor. It is very unique reactor because of safety consideration and also conversion of thorium to uranium-233. It is considered right from the beginning to last for 100 years. I think what are the concerns when we say that we must scale up? The first thing occurs is, what do you do for high-level waste management? I can't wait for a million years for the radioactivity to die and then allow you to make the nuclear reactors. After separation of the transuranium elements, you can bring down the life of the high-level waste below the nuclear radiation in about 500 years with the best of the technology. India has mastered that technology. So we must use it for all the high-level waste, and India would do it. If you go to thorium, even in about 200 years, you can bring the radioactivity level below. So I think if I say to the public that I'd be able to manage the high-level waste in 100 to 200 years, it gives confidence. If I say I take care for a million years, humankind has never taken anything for a million years. They have themselves evolved over a million years. So it's a very important part with the public acceptance. Now the cost of the nuclear reactors has been going up throughout the world. This shows for France and USA. In India, it has not been going that much, but there is a concern. We would be thrown out of competition because finally we have to sell the electricity. Now the great opportunity is that approval for 10 reactors of 700, so I think the whole focus should be quality, cost, cutting down the cost and safety through the time, and cutting down the cost through reducing the time of the project. It is doable, but it's a challenge. It's not trivial. We must put a target as to how much cost we can save when we do 10, and in how much time frame we would make these reactors. Many people say radiation, but radiation has been a friend of mankind. In fact, every human being needs the radiation. There have been certain norms as to how much radiation each human being can take, and all our reactors and facilities are that. But even in the case of accidents, where the results have come from Chernobyl, from Fukushima now, or from the nuclear weapons even over the Hiroshima, it is very clear that the damage caused by the radiations are much less than what is anticipated. So I think there is a need for relook, which would be very difficult. Nuclear community has been looking at it, but I think it's a communication to the people that it is possible to control the radiation and scale up the nuclear radiation multifold. I think for this particular Club of Rome meeting, it is extremely important that what is the cost of producing electricity? What is the human burden of producing electricity? And what is the various aspects with respect to sustainability which you have to take into account? Here, look at the cost. Most costly is the coal, if you take the integrated cost. But we say that we do 70% production by coal. How much human burden and what you are doing, all the advantages which you are talking would go away. If you look at nuclear power plant, the white thing which is maximum, there he talks about depletion of energy resources. But India would redraw this map, because if we use fast reactors and thorium, then the cost of depletion is not for us. We can supply even 100% nuclear energy over the years. And the other share there. I think one policy intervention is that the integrated cost of electricity must be considered while drawing the energy pie, and then you decide on the policy how much subsidies you can do. I think coming to what is important is scale, scale, scale. Nuclear energy, this is the time when clean energy is needed. The targets with respect to pollution and CO2 have to be made, so we have to scale up fast. We have the competence, but we have not demonstrated in the past. We must demonstrate. We must remain as an accident-free nuclear country. We have learned from Japan that one accident can topple the whole competence down. Japan was one of the most competent countries even today, but they are not able to contribute to nuclear energy. So we must, through our human resources, through our technologies, through our regulations, make it. Don't take public acceptance lightly. They are tired of coal, but then the nuclear is also in some areas they have concerns. While I talk to you, I can convince you over hours that it is very safe, but I think how does the people understand it? So we must find ways through cartoons, through like what Ranjit showed in the morning, explain to them in simple ways as to how this is safe. India has one of the top slots in the nuclear energy, but the time is to deliver to the country, scale up both water reactors, fast reactors, thorium. There's absolutely no flaw. In fact, once I was presenting this work, he said, if Homi Baba had done all the work, what you people have been doing for 70 years. So I told them that we are filling the gaps what Homi Baba left for us to complete it, and we are completing our journey. So nuclear energy must shift to the center. I'd like to see a transition from coal to the nuclear. We don't have worked out plan that how we transit from coal to the nuclear. 70% coal must come to 20%, as Krit mentioned in the morning. But how to do it in 20 years? We can't close the coal plants. You must have a transition plant. The path may go through clean coal, may not go through clean coal, but we need a deliberation among experts to be able to do that. And with demography advantage like this, I think